Hello, my name is Natalie Kopp, and I am the Connect to Complete AmeriCorps Vista at Columbus State Community College, the Delaware campus in Delaware, Ohio. And I'm going to talk you through my impact presentation and talk about what I have done so far at Columbus State. I'm going to start by talking a little bit about our Connect to Complete model, which is a model designed by Ohio Campus Compact, my AmeriCorps sponsor organization. And then I'm going to get into some general descriptions of what I do in my job versus what the peer mentors I supervise do, and then look at some specific events that we have done so far this year. Connect to Complete, like I said, is a program designed by Ohio Campus Compact that aims to help low-income and first-generation students succeed and persist to a second year of college. So according to our Connect to Complete model, we look at two basic areas to help with retention and to help students succeed, and those areas are service learning and peer advocacy. So service learning, community service events also fall under the category of service learning. So I'm going to talk about a lot of community service events that I've led, and I've tried to make them focus on the learning aspect by including reflections and things like that. But I'm also going to talk probably a lot more about the peer advocacy side of things in this presentation, because this year, in the very first year of our Connect to Complete program here at Columbus State, Delaware, our peer advocates played a really big role. We call them peer mentors here, but the Connect to Complete model refers to them as peer advocates. So our peer advocacy aspect of the position was our biggest component in our first year of the program. Vista's never come to a campus or a site to reinvent the wheel. We want to make use of already existing resources. So there's a lot of things that happen at Columbus State that already are helping students succeed and that are already amazing resources. And so we, in many ways, just serve as a referral point for those resources, and we connect them all in one place and allow students to, we try to make them more visible to students. We work with what's already working at Columbus State, and we make what's already working more accessible. We also offer friendly peer support. One thing that we can do that other offices can't is have the perspective of a student or of a recent college graduate and have that really friendly, safe space when someone comes into our office and can talk to another student who is very, very familiar with the problems that they might be going through. We also offer local service opportunities, and that again goes back to our idea that support from peers plus engagement in a community equals success in college. So a lot of people ask me, what does the service learning aspect of your position have to do with retention or persistence? And the National Campus Compact organization cites 21 studies demonstrating the link between service learning and retention and persistence. So they say that through the experience of service learning, students sharpen a number of academic skills such as problem analysis, critical thinking, logical reasoning, detailed observation, and issue identification. Students also experience a higher and more complex level of thinking. In addition to this, students gain more knowledge about the outside world, increasing their capacity to learn and retain school materials. So the bottom line is that when students feel engaged in their community, they feel that their community is engaged in them, and they relate with their coursework in new ways, and they're more likely to be invested in their campus community, and they're more likely to then stay in school. So it's difficult, I think, when to take all of this material about the Connect to Complete model, but then to think about how, when I'm thrown on a campus in July, before students get there, with really no idea what to do, it's really hard to start, building this program from the ground up, especially in the first year of a program. And so the very first thing that I did was I looked at our community needs assessment for Delaware County. And for those of you who may not know, Delaware County is generally seen as one of the wealthier counties in Ohio, and so I think sometimes working in Delaware County, it can be really hard to figure out, to break past those barriers of people perceiving it as a place where there isn't a lot of poverty. And so those are stereotypes that I had to fight constantly throughout the year. And it's a place of extreme sort of suburban sprawl and growth. But inevitably, when those things happen, there are going to be a lot of groups who are left behind, and there are also going to be hidden problems in every community. So the community needs assessment, if you don't know, is kind of like a census, and the United Way in a particular county will do one every few years, and they do a bunch of surveys to determine what the biggest needs are in a particular area. And so for Delaware County, the United Way found the following needs the most pressing in our community. So food insecurity, about 1 in every 10 people living in Delaware County are food insecure. Families in constant crisis, lack of mentorship opportunities for youth and young adults, opiate and heroin abuse, lack of access to mental health services, and lack of transportation. So I've kept these issues in mind all year when planning our events, and I hope that you will note when I go through this presentation how we try to address some of these issues in our events. So, like I said, I'm going to talk generally about some of the things that I do in my job, and then some of the things that the peer mentors do. So the number one, the thing that I did when I first started working in July before students returned to campus was try to figure out what this peer mentor program was going to look like on our campus. One of the great things about the Connect to Complete model is that Ohio Campus Compact gives us a lot of flexibility to make a program work on our campus. But that can also be really intimidating because, there's so many different ways I could go, and I want to go the right way, the way that is most useful to our campus. So I always say that what I've done this year is not tell the Columbus State Delaware campus what they need to make them succeed, but just sit back and let the students tell me what they need, and then I can do that. So I spent a lot of time thinking about and reading up on the resources that we have here and trying to determine, how are our peer mentors going to help our students? Are they going to be in classes? Are they going to be in office hours? Are they going to lead service events? They do a mix of all of those things, but it took a lot of planning to determine what they were going to do. And then my supervisor, my amazing supervisor, Pat Fabrizi, and I went through the hiring process in early October and hired Hannah and Nikki, who are our peer mentors this year and who you'll hear from later on in this presentation. We hired them at the very beginning of November, and we did 2 days of rigorous training that I prepared for them, and then they began working the first week of November. So throughout the year, I've also been developing weekly staff trainings for the peer mentors. So we'll do 2 hours of staff trainings each year or each week, and I will talk about those more briefly. But one of the big things as a first-year Vista, my job is to create curriculum that will be reusable every year. So when I create a training curriculum, I make sure that the community partner that is offering that training would be willing to come back and offer it again in the future. Make sure that I write down notes, make sure that those notes are available to the campus, make sure that all of my PowerPoints and lessons are saved. So that's one of the big things that I've established this year as well. I also organize service projects on campus. I've developed a lot of additional training resources in addition to those weekly trainings that are often by campus or community members, but we also we have a resource binder with tons of lessons in it that we've created throughout the year on topics that would interest our students. So like how to email your faculty, or how to use the Hub, which is our social media platform for student involvement, or things like that. How to look for affordable housing in the area, things like that. So we've developed these lessons and included them in our resource binder, and that binder will be used over and over again. And I have also created a web page, which please click on the link if you're interested. It includes, it's a web page where the front page of it is, I'm not going to go through it in this recording, but the home page is a blog, and so any news that I have for our peer mentors, they log on and they see that right away from me at the beginning of every single one of their shifts. But also, since they keep that web page open throughout their shifts, they can just go to other tabs and see, Columbus State links, community links, ideas for when they're bored at the desk, so things that they'll be frequently using in their appointments throughout their shift. And I found that this has been really helpful for our peer mentor. I found that this has been a successful resource. Again, talking about the things that I've done this year that will help make next year's VISTA program Monument better. I've worked on creating community partnerships that will be lasting. So I've worked with people in need of Delaware County, the Family Resource Center, Ohio Benefit Bank, Helpline Crisis Hotline Center, a couple animal shelters, things like that. And then I lead on and off-campus service projects, and I've worked with one of our service learning faculty who's done oral histories, an oral history class both semesters, and I've helped with that, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. I also co-wrote a grant for her in the fall so that she'll be able to teach a Pay It Forward class next spring, and we did win that grant, so that will be happening, and a peer mentor will be integrated into that class. And then I also do some other things for VISTA and Ohio Campus Compact, but we don't need to go into those. So what do the peer mentors do? So I talked a little bit about what I've prepared for them, and so I think that's going to give you already kind of have a somewhat clear idea of what they do, but most of their hours are spent in their office hours. They work about 15 hours a week at the desk, which is right next to my desk, and that's a substantial amount of time for student workers, so kudos to them. And they meet with students on topics such as time management, study skills, scheduling, campus involvement, like I said, how to use the hub, things like that. Referrals, and like I said, we do a lot of referrals. The most thing that we do is referrals. So referrals to campus resources such as student tutoring, disability services, things like that. And then referral to community resources such as the Ohio Benefit Bank, the 211 Resource Helpline, affordable housing, Ohio Means Jobs, things like that. Columbus State is really pushing to get more students in Ohio Means Jobs, so that's something where we're working with the campus to get that resource utilized. If you look at the picture, Nikki is on the left, Hannah is on the right. They are both our fantastic peer mentors this year. So they obviously meet on a lot of different appointment topics, and so they're absolutely brilliant, but what qualifies them to meet on all these topics, it's the rigorous training curriculum that they have had to participate in throughout the year. So the trainings that I've coordinated with community and campus partners have included FAFSA basics, training with Ellen from our academic advising department, Ohio Benefit Bank information session with Brett Sigley, helpline info session with Susan Hanson, the executive director of the helpline. We attended a Safe Zone training that was already occurring on campus. I organized with Mary Bantu a mini disability services training, and then we've also, I really want our peer mentors to leave this job not only with a broader idea of their community, but also with something that they can put on their resume. And so we've done a number of certifications. So we're all certified counselors with the Ohio Benefit Bank. We've done the Many Faces of Autism certification. We have done the QPR suicide prevention training and the Cognito suicide prevention training dedicated to helping veterans. So I'm going to give you a break from those blocks of text on the slides and talk more specifically about some of our events and look at some fun pictures. So our student success events have been some of my most successful events that I've hosted on campus, actually. And so student success events are anything that have to do with kind of related to that peer advocacy portion of the job, so anything that relates to helping our students succeed academically. So we've done 2 study marathons, one in the fall and one in the spring, and they're the week before final exams. And students come and they study together in a room, and faculty have generously donated their time and come and help answer students' study questions. It's an idea to hold students accountable and have them benefit from that group community session and study together and really get some work done and get their questions answered. I've also hosted an open mic series, and I hosted 3 events in this open mic series. And while on the one hand it seems like a less clearly tied to VISTA. The options that I've had for the open mic events have all had something to do with either community engagement or student success. So our first open mic event was sort of in the form of a debriefing after Angela Davis spoke on our campus, where people could share their reflections. Our second open mic event, I themed individual voices, and it was a chance to tell unique stories, because I believe that the first step in understanding your community is understanding the diverse voices within it. And our third open mic event was an inspiration event to de-stress for final exams. So we also have hosted a lot of community service events, and one of the great things about our community service events is we've partnered with the Ohio Wesleyan Connect to Complete team for almost every single one of them, every single one of the off-campus service events. Let me clarify that. So for example, we joined the Ohio Wesleyan team and volunteered at the free produce market. We made blankets for foster children, and we planted daffodils around the community of Delaware, which Susie Long, the Vista at Ohio Wesleyan, and I wrote a grant for that we were awarded from Serve Ohio for Make a Difference Day. And so with that, we planted flowers across the city. Planting flowers served not only as an opportunity to beautify the city of Delaware, but also to expose students to many community organizations in Delaware where they may eventually volunteer, and those were our planting sites. So what's fun about this is now these flowers are all in bloom. So you can see the Stratford Ecological Center, the Women's City Club, which provides affordable housing for women who have been victims of domestic abuse, Helpline, Crisis Hotline, Arts Center, our campus, Ohio Wesleyan's campus, places like that. So one of my biggest struggles being the Vista at Columbus State is that our students are very, very busy. They have full class loads, some of them have families, many of them work 20 or 30 hours a week, and they don't have a lot of time to go off campus and do service events, or they don't have the transportation to do that. And so while I've tried to combat these problems, unfortunately it can be very, very difficult to recruit students to volunteer off campus. So I felt pressured to host many mini service projects on our campus, and we call these Service on the Go. So the idea is that you can give 10 minutes of service between classes, and you get some awareness. You do a good thing and you get some awareness about community organizations and service and things like that. So you can see we wrote letters to military service members. We did volunteer sign-ups and flower making for Valentine's Day. We did donation drives for a local animal shelter, and there's some pictures of their adorable cats. We held a food drive for people in need, and we held a book drive for Global Youth Service Day for Ohio Reading Corps. For our biggest campus-wide celebration, which is called Delaware Day, our peer mentors made a fantastic, beautiful sign. They really went above and beyond, and they advertised all of our services and really had a great chance to meet a lot of people. And at this Delaware Day event, we also led some service on the go opportunities. So we wrote uplifting messages to include in care packages for children at Nationwide Children's Hospital, and we made cat and dog toys for local humane societies. So the service learning aspect of my job, you just heard a lot about community service projects, not so much about in-class service learning, and that's because that's a place of future expansion for this project. I think that there's much more to be done in terms of service learning on this campus. So this year I worked with 2 service learning classes. It was the same classes in the fall and the spring. It was a pilot in the fall and offered again in the spring, and students used the StoryCorps app, which is just a fantastic initiative, to interview community residents, older community residents in Delaware County who had interesting stories to tell. And at the end, they presented their findings, and so you'll see in these pictures some students reading parts of interviews to community residents, and they give these recordings to the Delaware County Historical Society so that they can be preserved forever. So it's a really great project, and Professor Nancy Pine will be offering it again next year, and so it just is continuing to grow and to grow. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about results, and it's hard to report results on a project that has only been going on for a semester. This is our 2 semesters, but we recorded results after first semester data came in. So I'm going to share with you what we have anyway, even though please keep in mind that it is on a very small portion of data. So at Columbus State, Delaware, we have 1,754 students, and 451 of them are Pell eligible. So just under a third of our students are on a Pell Grant. In our first semester, we had meetings or awareness activities that reached 295 students. So whereas we had a small number of actual one-on-one meetings with students in those first 2 months, November to December, that are counted in the semester 1 data, we visited many classes, and so we got awareness out through those visits. So of the students that we did meet with in one-on-one appointments, 33% of them were Pell eligible, so that's a little bit higher than the whole for the campus. But I would love to see that number a lot higher in the future. So while our one-on-one number meetings are still small, our one-on-one meeting numbers are still small, we have more than tripled our number of appointments during our second semester, so we are doing a lot better this semester, and we're off to a good start, but we still have a lot of room for improvement. We need to find more ways to reach out to our C2C eligible cohort of first generation and Pell eligible students. I would love for our team to have met with all 451 of those Pell eligible students, and that's what I think a perfect C2C program would do. So that brings me naturally to areas of expansion and improvement. So next year I would like to see our peer mentors integrated into classes because, again, community college students at Columbus State are busy, and if you can make it so that they have to attend a meeting for class or they have to do a service project in a class, it's really going to benefit them, because if they can use their class time to do those things, then they won't feel guilty about using time that they think they should be, grocery shopping or doing a work shift. So that's just, I think, vitally important here. So I would like to see one required peer mentor appointment for Cole's classes, which are our intro to college classes, and I would like to see peer mentors integrated into those classes at the beginning of the semester, and I'll be working with Cole's faculty this summer to make sure that that happens if they are willing to do that, and a peer mentor will also be incorporated into our Pay It Forward class next spring. I also want to build on the campus service culture, and I think I've already hinted at this, but I just want to see that expanded. I want to see more faculty getting interested in just teaching, doing a service project. And then I would also love to have more feedback from our C2C eligible students, because I need to know from them. I can guess as much as I want about what helped me succeed in college or what helped a peer mentor succeed in college, but unless our Pell eligible and first generation students tell me through conversations, focus groups, surveys, what we're doing that's working and what we're doing that isn't working, I know that there's some level of guessing. So moving forward, I'll be here in June and July still. I'm giving this presentation now because our peer mentors are graduating, but I will be here through almost the end of the summer, and so I'll be hiring our new peer mentors and helping hire our new Vista, and I will be compiling those reusable C2C materials, and I'll also mainly be working on transitioning the new team, but I'll also be helping out with orientations and with summer Coles classes to practice and model what the peer mentors will be doing in those classes next year. And then after I leave, my future plans are I'm beginning graduate school at the University of York in September. I put a picture because it's pretty, but those are my future summer and, well, beyond summer, fall plans. So when I gave this presentation on campus, I had Hannah and Nikki, our peer mentors, give a presentation, a mini presentation here about their experiences working as peer mentors. So I've recorded their remarks and included them here in a link. So I encourage you to please watch their Q&A. It's great. It really gives you a new perspective, gives you a break from hearing my voice and getting to hear from the two of them. And my lasting lessons, my closing remarks, have been that I can talk about the numbers and all of these different things, but at the end of the day, the things that I learned and the legacy that I want to see continue from this campus have to do with, I think, the environment that we've created, and the flexibility that we've modeled as a team. And I think those are the things that we've done the best this year in the first year of this program, as rocky as it has been. I think that when I wrote community, creativity, and compromise, but in terms of community, when people come into the C2C office, thanks to the wonderful, optimistic spirit that Hannah and Nikki have modeled, students really feel safe, and they feel like they can share, and they feel like they aren't being judged, and having a space where students just feel that they have a friend and a peer, but also a mentor, who won't judge them, who will keep their remarks in confidentiality, is something that really I think has made a big difference in this community. And the other things that I think go with that is we use the phrase go with the flow all the time in our office, and you need creativity and you need compromise to figure out how to accommodate every student. There's no one model that works for everyone, and so you have to be creative and find ways that'll work for different students. And you have to compromise. Sometimes things that worked for you didn't work for them, and so I think all of those things together, going with the flow and always just being friendly as a default and being non-judgmental as a default are the things that I think has made our CTC office in its first year the most successful. So I had time for discussion here, but we're obviously not doing a discussion in this recording. So I'm just going to end by thanking my supervisor, Pat Fabrizi, and my peer mentors and the entire Delaware campus, as well as the staff at Ohio Campus Compact. So thank you for listening.